What's up guys? Today is Friday, February 23rd, and it's a pretty big thing has happened today for myself and for Sam Freed Entertainment. The Lumix GH5 has arrived. Super stoked about using this camera. It's an upgrade from the GH4 that I've been using for the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 years now. I kind of had to buy it for an emergency reason. I have my first wedding of the year coming up next Saturday, and both of my GH4s are having some issues. I have one that the HDMI socket, 2 of the little pins are bent, so I can't plug a monitor in, and then my other GH4, coincidentally, 2 of the pins are bent inside of the SD card slot, so it can only read 2 of my cards, which is weird. I have 6 total SD cards, 4 64 gigs and 2 32 gigs, and it can read 1 of the 32 gigs and only 1 of the 64 gigs, which is really weird. And so I can't really take that chance going into a shoot, especially a wedding. It's only a once in a lifetime thing. I can't take the risk of losing footage or having files go corrupt, so I took my GH4 down to Jeremiah's Photo Corner to see what they say. He took a look and he saw the bent pins, and unfortunately they could not fix it, so I contacted Panasonic and they said I need to send in the GH4 to get a diagnostic on it, and they told me the average cost for a repair is $300, so that kind of sucks. So I had to buy the GH5, which I'm not too bummed about. I'm super excited to use. However, I will repair my GH4 with the bent pins in the SD card reader, and I'm going to try to sell that one, so if anyone's looking for a GH4, don't worry, it will be repaired and sellable. So anyone who needs a 4K camera and would like to get their hands on a GH4, I am selling one. I am, however, going to keep my other GH4 with the useless HDMI slot. I'm going to keep that one as a backup camera, or as my second camera. Since I have the GH5, I'll just plug my monitor into that one and use my other GH4 as my second camera. So I'm actually shooting this today on both of my GH4s. I have this one here and this one here. So they're still great cameras. They both still shoot 4K. Just the GH5 is a little bit better. So with that being said, it's time to unbox the GH5. So I don't know about anyone else out there who has a GH4 or a GH5, but the boxes they come in are crap. This will be the second GH box I've opened. My first GH4 came in one of these boxes. My second GH4 I bought off some guy on Craigslist, so it didn't have a box. But the GH5 box is the exact same as a GH4, and they're just crap. As soon as you open it up, one of the sides is like not glued on or something, and it just kind of falls apart. You'll see how bad of a package this is. So it just has all of these flaps, and see, there's that corner I'm talking about. It's like not even glued on, which I don't know what kind of design that is. But then it just has all these flaps that open up, and it's really inconvenient. Like, what is all of this? Like, why? What's the use of all these flaps here? Anyway. There she is. Put that down. Well, my first initial reaction, it's the same exact thing as a GH4. It's a little bit bigger, a little bit more of a robust kind of feel to the body, a little bit heavier just because it is a little bit bigger. I've noticed right away they have put another button right here that wasn't on the GH4 before. Also, here's something new. There's a little joystick right here on the back. That's pretty cool. And the record button, I noticed, is now on the top. rather than being on the back. Usually it's about right here. So that's kind of cool to move it to the top, because on the back it was kind of annoying. Other than that, it's almost identically the same. I mean, there's all the buttons are still in the same spot. You got the two function buttons up here. You got the wheel. You got display over here, the live view, playback, all the same functions on the wheel up here. ISO, white balance. So it's very similar. So you open up this, and I know you shouldn't show the sensor too much, or expose the sensor I should say, but you can see that the image stabilizer right next to the sensor, you can see it moving, and I'm assuming once I put a battery in, it'll stop shaking around. So that brings me to my first main difference between the GH4 and the GH5 is the camera in-body stabilization. The GH4 didn't have it in the past, and so now since the GH5 has it, that's going to make my shots a lot better. So that's a huge plus for the GH5. Another huge upgrade from the GH4 to the GH5 is internal 10-bit. It basically capturing more of the data from my shoots, or objects that I'm shooting. I have a greater ability to color grade now with the 10-bit compared to the 8-bit. Now the GH4, it did have a 10-bit capability, although in order to do that I had to plug in an external recorder and record to that guy, such as the Ninja Flame. So I never had that ability. I always recorded 8-bit, and recording 8-bit on the GH4 without Vlog, it kind of make color grading a little bit sloppy, a little bit mushy. So recording 10-bit on here is going to be a huge plus. Although I'm kind of bummed that the GH5 didn't come with Vlog, so that will be a $100 purchase, which I'll most likely do to expand my color grading. Another plus for the GH5 is 4K 60p. Now that's awesome. In my past shoots for weddings, if I ever wanted to do a slow-mo shot, I had to down-res to 1080p in order to get that 60 frames per second. Because with the GH4, I can only do 4K in 24 or 30p. So now with the GH5, I can go stay at 4K and do 60p. So that's huge. I can keep all of my footage in 4K. So another thing at looking at this GH5 is I noticed right here where the SD card goes, there's now 2 slots. So that's really cool that there's 2 SD card slots now. So I can always keep 2 in there, say if one of them runs out. Say I'm on a wedding with a church ceremony, and those tend to run really long. With 2 SD cards in here, if one runs out, it'll just automatically go to the next one without me having to rush over to my bag, take out the SD card, swap one out really quick, and get back out there, which I think is what happened to one of my GH4s. I probably got careless, I was rushing, took an SD card out really fast, pushed the new one in really quick, and that's what bent those 2 pins. So if there's anything I've learned with my 2 GH4s, take care of your cameras, and it's better to be safe than sorry. As I said before, with both of my GH4s, I bent 2 pins in both of the cameras. So it's just taking it slow, being careful with connections, and taking your time. Speaking of connections, I'm looking around and I notice on the other side is the HDMI slot. It's an actual full-size HDMI, whereas with the GH4, it was the mini HDMI, and so with those tiny little connections, that's what caused 2 of the pins to get bent. So with a full-size HDMI, it'll be a lot more secure and hopefully less prone to being bent. The last key thing that I find really cool of Panasonic to do is the battery for the GH5 is the same as the GH4. So I'm really happy they didn't take the high road and be like, oh, we're going to switch the batteries, so now you got to spend another $200 or $300 on buying new batteries. So I already have 4 batteries for my GH4s, and so this one came with a battery, so now I have 5 total. So that's awesome of Panasonic to do that. I'm really happy they did not switch the batteries and make me go out and buy 4 more batteries. I guess that brings me to my conclusion of unboxing the GH5. I'm super stoked. It's going to make my shots a lot better. I'm now up to par with some of the latest gear finally. So yeah, so stay tuned for some of my weddings coming out this year. Like I said, I have my first one next Saturday, so color grading that one is going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, make sure you check back in to see when that one is finished editing. I'll post it online if you guys can check it out. And until then, I'll see you in the next one. So I was just putting away all of my gear, tripods and cameras that I was using to shoot this vlog. I guess I was too excited pulling out the GH5 that I didn't completely fully unbox this box. I was actually trying to put it back together, and just look at this, like such bad packaging. Anyway, I discovered deep inside the box, Panasonic has included this sweet little secure connection for the HDMI. So you can see it screws in behind the flaps here. I don't know if you can really see it. It screws in these silver screws right here. They screw in, and it allows for a secure connection for the HDMI to prevent any bending or breaking the HDMI cord inside the slot. That's really cool of Panasonic to include that. Usually they have these on cages for DSLRs, and so just them putting this in means that they really thought about people using their cameras, and they probably got a lot of complaints about the micro HDMI breaking and all this kind of stuff. So putting that on there was really cool of them.